Hello, beautiful people. I am excited. I'm back again. I've been so consistent with these videos and no pressure. I'm showing up in my inspired action and showing up in flow and sharing what I've been experiencing and observing with the energetics of the collective and just our human existence in this crazy powerful, beautiful world that we have collectively created here. So, thank you so much for being here. I am going to, make this short and straight to the point. In my previous video, I talked about emotional alchemy and the significance of being really present in our emotions, right? Whether it's sadness, happiness, joy, guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, like all the things coming forth, be present with them. Do your best not to push them away. Do your best not to define them right away or attach it to some story. Just being in the energy is really important. And so I'm recording this on April 7th of 2026 and I want to point out the time frame around Easter. So certain channels that I've been following, a few channels, they have spoke about Easter essentially being like a point, like an important moment. And I don't think it had to do with Easter essentially, but as a collective, we tend to put a lot of love and energy and like time and presence into this specific holiday, even if you're not Christian. Just around Easter and like the equinox and all of that is a very potent time. And also, it's a period of the veil thinning and thinning in the sense of here in the northern hemisphere, it's thinning towards life. So there's more of a connection with nature spirits. The subtle energies a little bit more profoundly felt. And on the flip side, if you're in the southern hemisphere, then that thinning veil is leaning towards death and retreat and bringing all of your energy inward and starting to reflect and um, just be in the moments of reflection and creating that compost for the next cycle. And so, either way, this is a potent time in whatever spiritual practice, religion, and so forth that you observe. And so, what's been coming through with a few channels is that this is a very special Easter and spring equinox moment. And I know the equinox was like a couple weeks ago, but what is time? It's all again the energy present here. But this has been pointed to as a time where there is a wave of divine feminine consciousness coming through. And so this wave I've been tapping into in my own practice, my own work. And essentially it's like a level up or even like a energy influence, or I guess you could say activation that is really anchored in divine feminine in the sense of the divine mother and the experience of receiving, of being held, of nurture, of care, of presence, of magnetism, right? And I sense this is why there's been such a strong focus in what I share and in my connection with clients and peers and so forth is this emotional presence that's been so important. And it's like I spoke about in the previous video, emotional presence is one of the core schools in the earth experience, right? Being here as a human, being present with our emotions is very, very important. It's a very valuable lesson. And so being able to feel them and to find or like have a stable ground within our emotions is really important, and it is very profound. Like once you master that, which I'm like, has anyone mastered that? Like where are we with this? But once you start to find your own like stability and your own way in which you are able to feel safe and secure in like the wave of emotions, that opens up so many more like connections, that clears the path ahead, that activates and strengthens your own spiritual and creative abilities, and so forth. So again, that emotional presence is key. And the emotional presence is tied to the energetics of our soul. And so being able to really honor the emotions is honoring your humanity, is honoring your role and choice of being here on earth, like at this time. So it's really important. So this divine feminine consciousness is coming through to help us to learn how to navigate the ways of emotion, help us to connect to our intuition and our inner being, open us up to receiving the energy of our inner being, and also a higher sense of a higher source of intelligence and so forth, or say your spirit guides and whatnot. And also being able to radiate our own energy, radiate the energy, and also like creating this magnetism and ability to attract without having to like really force anything. And so this wave of divine feminine consciousness is balancing the heavy emphasis in our collective experience right now in the masculine energy. So I see in an experience that the masculine energy is so um like we're so saturated with this influence that it has become distorted. And we all have the masculine energy within us, so we're all experiencing this distortion personally, and of course we're seeing it collectively on the world stage. And so I am really getting the sense that this wave of divine feminine consciousness is going to happen in more than once, right? Several segments. And the wave of divine feminine consciousness essentially is coming through as, at least in my experience and what I've also observed and connected with others, is it's coming forth as clarity. It's coming forth as a clearing. Like when I see that wave, I see it more as like not overwhelming, but just like this wave of life force energy, this wave of like I see it as air, and just yeah, life force energy is what's coming through. But in my own experience, the way I have like experienced it essentially is like this knowingness of my purpose, like everything essentially clicking together. I'm like just receiving information, I'm receiving energy. And I think that's what it is. It's like the clearing, and that clearing in the air is like bringing forth like this intellect, this information. So it's like waves of downloads, waves of comprehension and understanding about my own familial karmic energies, like my own familial line, and their experience and the trauma and so forth in reference to emotional healing. Like for me, everything has been really focused on emotional healing, being open emotionally, being emotionally vulnerable, being emotionally expressive, being able to receive the love, and being able to express your love. That's something that's been coming through. And I've just been getting like, learning stuff about my father's familial line, my mother's. I was already really connected and aware of that, but just like now it's merging with my mother and my father and their dynamic, and how that has been an anchor and a pillar in my own experience of emotional healing, and that my role is clearing that for both sides. And I'm really just having an understanding. It's like a deeper understanding. And again, everything is clicking together as far as like my romantic connections or like my friendships, just every single thing. I'm having this clearing and understanding. And this actually happened last night while I was laying in bed. I was just reflecting on like realizations that I had over the weekend around Easter, and there was no expectations. I was just more so like, we'll see what happens. But I also knew that this wave of feminine consciousness and this like activation or whatever like the buildup was around this time, I really understood it to be something that was likely going to be experienced on a personal and individual level. There were some starseed components that were coming forth, and I'm also seeing that come through with connections being made for me personally, but I'm also observing in the outside world and just waiting for everything to clear. And I feel that's an important aspect, is the receiving, right? the receiving of the intelligence, the receiving of the energy that will vitalize you or revitalize you and create efficient action, inspired action. And so that leads us into the astrological transit this week of Mars moving into Aries. And on the same day, which is on April 9th, Mars will move into Aries, and there will also be a last quarter phase moon in Capricorn, right? So this is a square or a point of conflict between the sun's placement and the moon's placement as far as astrology, right? And so we have the sun in Aries, where there's that inspired action, courageousness, being the pioneer, being present and existing, just being in the moment. And then we have the Capricorn energy where there's patience and wanting to like be efficient and take time and have the discipline and the structure and the system and the method. And so you can see where Aries and Capricorn, like they have conflict, they contrast because, you know, Capricorn is about taking time and Aries is like, let's just do it now. Let's act now, think later, right? We'll figure it out as we go. And so they're in a natural contrasting position. But the amazing thing is that Mars is in Aries, and in this very moment, what's being initiated here with the moon in its position and Mars being in Aries is that Mars loves Capricorn. Mars and Capricorn energy work really nicely. And Mars is in its natural home of Aries. So it's very aligned, very balanced. And so I see that this can really work very nicely if we're able to integrate the discipline, the patience, and the presence to receive. And Capricorn is a feminine energy, like a feminine sign. And so there is that element of receiving, right? And being patient and letting it come to you. And as you receive the wisdom, then you will have clarity if you're being patient and also being present with your emotions and allowing that emotion and intuition to guide you as well. Being patient, taking your time, you will then gain that inspiration to take action, right? You will take efficient action. That's been a word of the day today, has been efficiency, and presence as well has been really important. And so, with this last quarter moon in Capricorn, and just honestly, the phase of the last quarter moon is this conflict or maybe duality within our consciousness. And so, we're at a point, at a threshold where we're being encouraged to let go of certain beliefs and just ways of thinking. And so this can be a little bit difficult. And especially within Capricorn, I see this as letting go of old patterns, of traditions, ways of doing things. And with Mars and Aries, that can help to assist that as it's like, okay, let's take initiative. Like we're aware of it. We've received the guidance on how to move forward. We've received the clearing so we can see the path ahead, and now let's act, right? And we don't have to do everything at once, but we do have the courageousness to open ourselves to doing something a little bit different, overcoming our fears, and just being in the energy in the present moment. So essentially that is what I'm feeling at this time in the collective field and also in my own experience. I would love to hear your thoughts. Definitely feel free to leave them in the comments or your questions. I love hearing them. And at some point, I do want to touch on the starseed aspect of this. I do see this divine feminine energy. I do see there is a connection here with, and this is what I've been also picking up from my own personal channels that I follow. But this wave of consciousness is also coupled with the connections to our galactic soul family. So those of you who resonate with starseed exploration and really connecting to your cosmic origins and navigating how to integrate that with your earthly presence, these waves of consciousness are helping to do that. And I know one of the mentors of mine that I adore is Bashar. And he speaks a lot about this being the year of disclosure. And so that goes right in alignment with this wave of divine feminine consciousness, and that it being divine feminine consciousness is more specific, but the whole experiences of the clearing, of the clarity, the receiving what you need to know when you need to know it, not forcing anything, not avoiding anything, but just being present and being discerning with what comes your way. Like right now I'm seeing the Queen of Swords where she has her sword up and she's just like, all right, bring it, and like discerning and cutting through the BS and receiving what is in divine alignment. And she is also wearing um her prayer beads, and so I love that. So it's like she is connected to the divine as well, connected to the divine light and the truth, and bringing forth and ready to receive the insight and intelligence that's coming her way. So I really feel that. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this, please like the video, please subscribe, please share, and all the things. And I'm wishing you a beautiful week, and I'll see you again hopefully next week.